She thought she'd hidden it well. She was wrong. Elena Vasquez had worked in Dante Rixey's mansion for 4 months. She arrived early, left late, never complained, never asked for anything. The perfect invisible employee. That's what she needed to be. Dante noticed her the way he noticed everything, quietly, completely, without letting on. He was in his home office at 6:30 that morning, reviewing wire transfers from 3 different shell companies when she slipped in to collect the laundry. She didn't know he could see her reflection in the window. She didn't know he'd already noticed the way she moved too carefully, like someone managing pain they'd learned to live with. Then a pillowcase fell. When she bent to pick it up, her uniform sleeve dropped forward and the bruises caught the light. Not 1, not 2, a pattern. The kind that doesn't come from a doorframe or a stumble downstairs. The kind that comes from someone who knows exactly how hard to hit. She stood up fast, yanked her sleeve down, and went completely still, the way prey freezes when it realizes it's been seen. Mrs. Vasquez. His voice was calm. It was always calm. That's what made it dangerous. She turned slowly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Rixey. I didn't realize you were." "Whose are they?" She blinked, opened her mouth, closed it. He didn't repeat the question. He never did. In that silence, something shifted in Dante Rixey's chest, something that had no business existing in a man like him. He turned back to his window, jaw tight, and said only 4 words. "You're not going back." Dante Rixey hadn't built his empire by being careless. He ran 3 legitimate businesses and considerably more that weren't. He sat across negotiating tables from men who lied for a living, and he always knew. Not because he was psychic, because he paid attention when most people stopped. So when Elena tried to laugh it off, "I bumped it on a cabinet, I'm so clumsy, I'm fine," he let her finish. Then he asked one question. "Both wrists?" She hadn't realized she'd been rubbing the other arm the entire time. Her face went white. "Show me," he said quietly. "Mr. Rixey, really, Elena," his voice didn't rise, it never needed to. "Show me." She pulled back her sleeves with trembling hands. Both wrists. Finger-shaped bruises, deep purple on one side, fatting yellow-green on the other. Someone had grabbed her, hard, recently, more than once. Dante felt something cold settle in his chest. He wasn't a good man. He'd never pretended to be. He'd made decisions that would keep most people awake for years. But he had rules. Lines he'd drawn for himself a long time ago and never crossed. You don't hurt people who can't fight back. Somebody had hurt Elena, and she was too scared to tell him who. "You can go," he said quietly, "but this conversation isn't over." She practically fled the room. Dante called his housekeeper, Carmen, into his office 3 minutes later. Carmen Vega had worked for the Rixey household for 22 years. She was 60, sharp-tongued, and one of the few people alive who could tell Dante he was wrong without flinching. "Elena Vasquez," he said when she sat down. "Tell me about her personal life." Carmen's expression shifted the moment she heard the name. "What happened?" "Bruises, both wrists. She's lying about where they came from." Carmen closed her eyes for a brief moment. "I didn't know. I swear to you I didn't know." "What do you know?" "She was married, divorced about 8 months ago. When she applied here, she needed work badly, I could see it. Good references from her last employer, a family on the North Shore who relocated." Carmen shook her head slowly. She mentioned once she was staying with her sister temporarily, trying to get back on her feet. Dante drummed 2 fingers on the desk. "I want to know where she goes after work, who she talks to, whether anyone's been following her." He met Carmen's eyes. "Nobody touches my people." Carmen nodded. She'd seen this side of him before, the part of Dante Rixey that the newspapers never quite captured. For all his shadows, he had a code. "I'll talk to her," Carmen offered. "Woman to woman, she might open up more easily." "Carefully," Dante said. "She's already spooked." By noon, his head of security, Sal, was knocking on the study door with a manila folder. Dante opened it. Inside was a photo of a man in a Chicago Police Department uniform. Broad shoulders, sandy hair, cold eyes with a smile that didn't match them. Officer Marco Reyes, Sal said, married Alina 4 years ago. Divorce finalized 7 months back. He's on patrol out of the 12th district. His captain is his father's oldest friend. Dante's jaw tightened. 2 domestic disturbance calls to their old address, Sal continued. Both times Alina refused to press charges. She eventually filed for divorce and got a restraining order. He pointed to another document, which expired 3 weeks ago. She tried to renew it. Reyes showed up to the hearing with a lawyer. Judge denied the extension, insufficient evidence of recent harassment. So she's unprotected. Completely, and Reyes knows it. Sal pulled out his phone and showed Dante a screenshot. He's tight with at least 8 other officers in his district. If Alina tried to report him now, it would go nowhere. They'd circle the wagons. Dante closed the folder carefully. Put someone on her commute, quietly. I want to know if Reyes goes anywhere near her. Already running the gate footage from the last 2 weeks, Sal said. If he's been watching this property, we'll know tonight. They knew by 6 p.m. Sal set up his laptop in Dante's study and pulled up 3 weeks of footage from their own cameras, from a nearby traffic light, from a shop camera across the street that Sal had accessed without asking permission and without explaining how. 11 days ago, Sal said, clicking play. The footage showed Alina at a bus stop 3 blocks from the mansion. She was checking her phone. Then a familiar blue sedan rolled up to the curb. Marco Reyes stepped out, still in uniform, and Alina immediately turned and walked the other way. He followed. The traffic camera caught what happened next. He grabbed her arm, spun her around, got in her face. She was pleading. He grabbed her other arm. When she tried to pull away, he gripped tighter. 90 seconds. Then he let go, got in his car, and drove off like nothing had happened. Alina stood on that sidewalk alone, shaking, rubbing her arms. That's where the bruises came from. There's more, Sal said. He played 2 more clips. Reyes waiting for her in the rain, blocking her path at the bus shelter, pointing in her face while she pressed herself against the wall. And the worst one, catching her at the side gate of the mansion, pinning her against the iron bars, his hand moving to her throat. Not choking, just resting there. A reminder. The confrontation only ended because an elderly man walked by with a dog. Reyes straightened up, nodded politely at the stranger, and strolled away. Alina slid down the gate and sat on the sidewalk, sobbing. The room was quiet for a moment. He's hunting her, Dante said. And he's smart about it, Sal replied. Staying just inside the legal line. No hits, no threats on record, pure intimidation. Dante stood. I want everything on Marco Reyes, not public records, the real story, where his money comes from, who he owes, what secrets he's been sitting on. He looked at each man in the room. A man like that always has secrets. The next morning, Dante found Alina dusting bookshelves on the 2nd floor. She moved like she was trying not to disturb the air itself. Alina, my office, please. Her whole body went rigid. She sat across from his desk on the very edge of the chair, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white, ready to run at any moment. Dante didn't sit behind the desk. He leaned against the front of it, trying to make himself less imposing. It probably didn't work. He was built like someone who'd handled himself in worse situations than this, but he tried. I'm going to ask you something, he said, and I need you to be honest. Yes, sir. Who's hurting you? Nobody. I told you I'm just... Alina, he waited until she looked at him. I know you're scared. I know you think telling me will make things worse, but I need you to trust me. I can't, her voice cracked. Talking about it makes him angrier. Every time I've tried to get help, it only made things worse. Him, there it was. Marco Reyes, Dante said. 12 district. You were married for 4 years, divorced 8 months ago. Her head snapped up. Fear flooded her face. How did you? It's my job to know things. He pulled his own chair closer so they were at eye level. Alina, I need you to tell me what's been happening. And then, like a dam cracking, it all came out. He won't leave me alone. I thought when the divorce was final it would be over. I changed my number. I moved in with my sister, but he always finds me. He waits at my bus stop. He follows me here. He sits outside my sister's apartment at 2 in the morning, just sitting there, watching. She'd filed a restraining order. It expired. She tried to renew it. His department connections had put a lawyer in that courtroom, and the judge had said no. She'd gone to his precinct to report him. They'd told her she was probably exaggerating because she was bitter about the divorce. "He is the police, Mr. Rixey," she whispered. "He is the law. Who do you call when the person hurting you wears a badge?" Dante was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You call me." She looked at him like she didn't understand the language. "You work in my house," he said. "That means you're under my protection, and I don't make promises I can't keep." He slid a card across the desk. His private number on the front, a security company's number on the back. "If anything happens day or night, you call. Someone will be there in minutes. No questions." "Why?" she asked softly. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because what he's doing is wrong." He said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. "And because nobody gets hurt on my watch." She took the card with shaking hands. And for the first time since she'd walked into this house 4 months ago, she looked like she might actually believe someone. That afternoon, Dante met with his consigliere, Nico, in the private study. Nico Romano had been with the Rixey family for 18 years. He was 55, silver-haired, and had kept their operation out of federal crosshairs more times than anyone could count. He was also the most cautious man Dante had ever known, which was exactly why Dante trusted him. "A cop," Nico said flatly, after Dante walked him through everything. "You want to go after a cop." "I want to stop a predator who happens to have a badge." "Those are the same thing, Dante." Nico leaned forward. "His captain goes back 30 years with Ray's father. You touch this man, even sideways, and we will have every badge in this city turning over rocks we don't want turned over." "Then we don't touch him." Nico studied him. "Explain." "We don't need to." Dante turned his laptop around. He showed Nico the security footage, Alina at the gate, Ray's hand on her throat. Nico watched without speaking. When it ended, his expression had shifted. "What do you have?" he asked quietly. Unexplained cash deposits, a pattern of dismissed complaints, photographs of him meeting with known criminal Angelo Mera twice last month. Dante closed the laptop. "We build a case so undeniable that the department has to act or explain publicly why they won't. That takes time. Then we start now. We document everything. Every incident, every meeting, every dollar he can't account for. We find his other victims because men like Ray's never have just one." Dante's voice hardened. "And then we hand it to people who can't ignore it." Nico was quiet for a long moment. Then, "We do this my way, controlled, nothing improvised, nothing that can be traced." "Agreed." "And if the heat becomes too much?" "We pull back." Dante extended his hand. "Deal." They shook on it. Over the next 48 hours, Sal delivered. Ray's was shaking people down, traffic stops mostly. Find something, offer to make it disappear for cash. He split it with his partner. Irregular cash deposits, 17,000 over the past year alone. His partner, Officer Danny Fuentes, had a gambling problem, owed money to 2 different bookies. Sal had spoken to one of them off the record. Fuentes had been bragging for months about how he and Ray's were untouchable. And the meetings with Angelo Mera weren't social. Ray's was tipping him off about upcoming raids, helping him move product when things got hot. In exchange, cash and backup whenever Ray's needed muscle. There was more. 2 years ago, Ray's had arrested a man named Louis Torres on drug possession charges. Torres claimed the drugs were planted. His girlfriend filed a complaint saying Ray's had grabbed her during the arrest, said things that would follow her for years. Internal Affairs investigated. The investigator assigned was Ray's captain's nephew. Case closed, complaint unfounded. Dante looked at the web of names Sal had drawn on a whiteboard. Ray's at the center. Lines connecting him to 8 other officers, each with their own buried complaints, their own quiet arrangements. They protect each other, Dante said. It's a brotherhood, Sal replied. You don't rat on your brothers. Even when your brothers are criminals. Nico studied the board from the corner. This is what we need, not one bad cop, a pattern. Something so clear that anyone who tries to cover for him becomes part of the story. The first move came Tuesday morning. Danny Fuentes arrived at his shift to find 2 internal affairs investigators waiting in the parking lot. Someone had anonymously sent them bank records, detailed, time-stamped, matched perfectly to traffic stop reports Fuentes had filed on dates when no cash was ever logged into evidence. By noon, Fuentes was in an interrogation room. By 3 p.m., he was talking. The second move came that evening. An anonymous post on 2 police accountability forums, partial bank records, the photo of Reyes with Angelo Mara, a list of dismissed complaints with dates and case numbers. By midnight, local activists were tagging every Chicago news outlet that covered law enforcement. The third move was the most decisive. Dante made a single phone call to a federal prosecutor he'd met at a charity event 3 years prior. Clean, ambitious, had been building a case against Angelo Mara for the better part of 2 years. Anonymous tip, Dante said, worth checking out. The prosecutor checked. A warehouse in Bridgeport, enough evidence to bury Mara for a decade. When Mara was arrested Wednesday afternoon, Marco Reyes lost his criminal backup, his side income, and his muscle in a single afternoon. That evening, Sal knocked on Dante's door. He's been reassigned to desk duty, Sal said. No badge, no patrol. IA opened a formal investigation. And the media. Sal smiled. 3 outlets have picked up the story. Channel 9 is running a segment tonight. It's moving. Dante looked out at the city. Down below somewhere, Marco Reyes was watching his world begin to crack. Good, he thought, feel it. But Sal's expression shifted. There's something else. He pulled up new footage on his laptop. Reyes' car, parked across the street from Alina's apartment building. 3 hours, just sitting there. He's getting desperate, Sal said. Desperate men do stupid things. Dante was already reaching for his phone. Increase her protection, quietly, and get me the number for Detective Anna Flores. He said the name deliberately. He knew Flores, 12-year veteran, clean record, spent the last 4 years investigating police misconduct. She had no love for the department's protection racket. It's time for Phase 3. Friday morning, Chicago woke up to a storm. The Tribune front page. Chicago cops' dark secret, years of abuse and cover-ups exposed. Channel 9 led with it. The Sun-Times went hardest, badge of dishonor. All 3 dropped at 6 a.m. coordinated. Devastating. In the kitchen of Dante's mansion, Alina stood frozen in front of the wall-mounted television. Carmen had turned on the morning news. Neither of them spoke. The screen showed Reyes' department photo beside images of bank records and the photo of him with Angelo Mara. Multiple women have come forward anonymously, the reporter said, describing a pattern of harassment and intimidation, including one ex-wife who obtained a restraining order before it was denied renewal earlier this year. Alina's hand flew to her mouth. They were talking about her, her story, but they weren't using her name. He'd kept his promise. Carmen reached over and took her hand. By 8 a.m., the story had gone national. The mayor's office was fielding calls. The department spokesperson read a prepared statement at a podium outside the precinct, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else on Earth. Officer Reyes has been placed on administrative leave, pending a full investigation. The Chicago Police Department does not tolerate corruption or abuse of power in any form. His former colleagues weren't returning his calls. His union representative suddenly had scheduling conflicts. The lawyer his captain had recommended quietly returned the retainer. Marco Reyes had become radioactive overnight. He broke on Saturday. By 6 p.m., he'd been drinking since noon. His apartment was wrecked, bottles on the counter. His phone cracked against the wall. the television showing his face on every channel. He told himself this was Maria's fault, Alina's. Whatever her name was in whatever story he'd constructed to make himself the victim. He pulled on his jacket and grabbed his keys. 2 blocks from Alina's apartment building, an unmarked surveillance van sat in the parking lot of a closed laundromat. Sal was inside, watching 3 monitors. "He's moving," his associate Marco said from the passenger seat. "Blue sedan, heading east on Cortland." Sal was already on the phone. "He's inbound, get ready." 4 blocks away, Detective Anna Flores and her partner sat in their own unmarked car. She'd been briefed. She'd reviewed the footage, the bank records, the case file. She'd also seen the emergency protective order that had been quietly filed that morning, a new one, under a judge with no ties to Reyes' precinct. Flores checked her watch. He won't be able to help himself. At 6:27 p.m., Reyes parked across from Alina's building. He watched her window for a moment, then he got out. He climbed the stairs to apartment 2B and pounded on the door. Inside, Alina backed away. Her sister Rosa stepped in front of her. Alina already had her phone in her hand, Dante's number on the screen. "Marco Reyes." Flores's voice cut through the hallway like a blade. She stood at the top of the stairs with her partner, badge out, expression flat. "Step away from the door." "You don't understand," Reyes said. I understand you're violating an active protective order and making criminal threats." Flores didn't move. "Hands where I can see them." "There's no restraining order. It expired." "New one," her partner said, moving to Reyes' other side. "Filed this morning. You were served by email at 10:47 a.m. Reyes' face went white. When he tried to pull away, that was the only opening Flores needed. The struggle lasted about 8 seconds. And that's when the news crews arrived. Someone had tipped 3 local stations 15 minutes earlier. They caught everything Marco Reyes, former police officer, being walked out of a residential building in handcuffs, shouting that he was being framed, that this was a setup, that he had rights. The cameras caught all of it. By 7 p.m., the footage was everywhere. In his security room, Dante watched the coverage with quiet satisfaction. Nico stood beside him. After a long moment, the older man said, "It's done." "Close," Dante said, "but close enough." His phone buzzed. A text from Sal, Reyes denied bail. Flight risk. Charges include corruption, extortion, stalking, assault, and civil rights violations. FBI involvement confirmed. Dante set the phone down. At Alina's apartment, she sat on the couch with Rosa's arms around her, both of them crying. Her phone buzzed on the cushion beside her. A text from an unknown number. "It's over. He can't hurt you anymore." She read it 3 times. Then she pressed the phone to her chest and closed her eyes. Outside, the red and blue lights from the patrol cars painted the street in alternating colors. Neighbors gathered on the sidewalk, whispering. And somewhere in the back of that patrol car, Marco Reyes sat in handcuffs, finally understanding what he'd done wrong. He hadn't just hurt a woman who had nobody. He'd hurt someone under the wrong person's protection. Monday morning came with unexpected sunshine. Alina arrived at the mansion early. She always did. But for the first time in over a year, she didn't check over her shoulder. She didn't scan the street for a blue sedan. She didn't feel her heart hammering against her ribs at every approaching car. Marco Reyes was in Cook County Jail. The FBI was building their case. The story had already moved on in the news cycle, the way these things always do, but the damage was permanent. Carmen found her in the kitchen around 10, making coffee with a small smile on her face. "He wants to see you," Carmen said gently. Alina climbed the stairs to Dante's study and knocked softly. He was standing at his window, looking out at the city, but turned when she came in. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. She sat. He placed a small envelope in front of her. Inside was a key. "An apartment in Lincoln Park," he said. 2 bedrooms, secure building, doorman, cameras, 24-hour security. He slid a document across beside it. Lease is under one of my property management companies. Your name doesn't appear anywhere on public record. Reyes couldn't find it if he spent a year looking. He paused. Rosa's welcome too if she wants. It's a 2-bedroom for a reason. Alina stared at the key. Mr. Rixai, I can't. It's already done. That's too much. You've already done so much. The investigation, the arrest. Alina, his voice was quiet. You've been surviving for a very long time. It's time to start living. She pressed her hands over her face, sat there for a moment with her shoulders shaking. Then she looked up. When I first came to work here, she said, I thought you were terrifying, all the things people say about you. She almost smiled. But you're the kindest person I've ever met. Dante was quiet for a moment. I'm not a good man, he said honestly. Don't mistake what I did for evidence of that. I have my own codes, my own reasons. He met her eyes. Marco Reyes crossed a line. I don't let that go. Still, she said softly, thank you. After she left, Dante stood alone at the window. His phone buzzed. Sal, Reyes formally indicted on 14 counts. DA pushing for maximum sentence. Prosecutor says 15-20 years minimum. He set the phone down. Somewhere in this city, Alina Vasquez was about to walk into an apartment that was hers. Safe, quiet, free. And somewhere in Cook County, Marco Reyes was beginning to understand that the badge he'd hid behind for years hadn't protected him from the one thing he never saw coming. Consequences. Dante turned back to his desk. There was work to do. There always was. The city would keep whispering about the unseen hand that brought down an untouchable cop. They'd theorize. They'd speculate. They'd never quite find the source. That was fine. Shadows didn't need recognition. They just needed to protect what mattered.